Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, what I'm going to discuss is about the Enterprise Architecture Program Deliverables example, specifically pertaining to this project schedule. Okay. So, by satisfying, as an introduction, okay, the role of an enterprise architect is to help the organization to understand and the full potential of technology and application. This is even more important today as companies are rushing to implement technology across their business structure that will satisfy increasing customer demands. Okay. The enterprise architecture's main objective is to implement okay, okay, good strategy that will accomplish business capabilities and desired outcomes. Amidst of all the digital transformation initiatives in organizations stays with, it is becoming more challenging for the enterprise architect to create a product and services that is easy to implement and engaging into a customers. This also gives the enterprise architect a once in a lifetime opportunity to work closely with the project management office. Ayan. So, the PMO is also compelled to deliver the project that are associated with the overall strategy. Basically, enterprise architects and PMO are trying to answer the same question. How can we leverage our resources to achieve organizational objectives? For the PMO, right, for the PMO, these resources are also two components, okay? People and money. An enterprise architect must understand the challenges that PMO faces and try to work in a collaborative manner right from the start as such project. Now, in an executive summary, okay, there are actually 5 key deliverables to enterprise architecture. Okay. Number 1 is the okay, sorry. Okay. Number 1 is an enterprise architecture roadmap. Is actually the strategic um, blueprint that communicates how a company's IT plan will help the organization, okay, achieving its business objectives. Okay, so it is more likely on the what we call here the explaining the Newton's third law of motion. In every action that there's an every action there will always be an equal reaction. It is actually the concept going back to the concept of, our grade 6 grade 6 grade 6 lectures before during our physics class. The third law of motion, in every action there will always be an equal reaction. Okay. So by this, as you can see, explaining this one is that just like this wall behind me, if it is actually not strengthened and the reinforcements are weak, then therefore this wall will going to collapse. No, if I'm going to lean on this wall and the wall will not be able to carry me over, then the wall will collapse based on the force where I'm taking it. Okay, so meaning to say that the wall doesn't have any reinforcement at all in order for me to push back, okay, to push back, no, and to stabilize itself in order for them to to be in equal force, in order for him to stand, okay, to stand. But in this aspect, okay, if the wall is well reinforced and I'm going to lean in or going to push, no, the wall will not collapse, but instead it will repel back the forces that I will be, exerting on it. Now, that is actually the concept of in a business or an architecture, enterprise architecture. As you can see, dealing with enterprise architecture is that we have to think over, what will be the factors that will be affecting on the business point of view, on the business domain. Now, by affecting this one, so there will be you will going to have, going towards to this what we call IT risk management, as the number 5 is stating. Okay, these are the force that will going to the wall, that will be pushing to the wall. So meaning to say the wall or the business should be reinforced, in order for it to push back the forces or the risk that will be coming in. Okay, because if the risk didn't able if the risk will push and the wall or the business will never reinforce or will never push back, and then the business will going to fall. Nowadays, the IT business and the IT and the business is actually coming over together. Okay, so in the field of the science, the business and the IT is actually an allied academic, an allied academic institution. So meaning to say, the business will never survive without an IT, and an IT will never survive without a business. But through this aspect, they come along together. The IT serves as the reinforcement, of the business against this risk, and it is actually a part of this what we call IT risk management. Now, by doing this, okay, So the IT reinforced by cultivating or by making or developing more softwares, more systems, integrated systems, or even a mainframe, or even an infrastructure of a mainframe. Now, by doing this, this actually relies based on the demands of the customers and the business. No? So that's the reason why the IT, no, the IT software becomes sophisticated day by day. The development of a software is actually sophisticated day by day because of the, the increasing demands of the customers, the increasing demands of, the consumers, especially in terms of, securing their data networks, securing all of the information, because you know how important information will be. It might break you or it might make you. Something like that. The number two is the, what we call here, the number two is actually the application portfolio management. Now, in terms of the application portfolio management, this actually refers to the process of planning and evaluating applications and creating a framework for measuring and optimizing the use of the use of application over the entire course of the life cycle. This includes the management of as-is information. As-is an application, infrastructure, or information, the business, finance, and organization. Okay. So, in this aspect, it comes along also, it also includes the way of how do we assess, no? How do we assess the aspect of, putting the software into a more useful manner, or how are we going to make this software efficient in the line of the business. Okay. And the last is the last inclusions of this is actually the recommendation to eliminate overlaps. This is actually the most of the problems in the business. That is the reason why it is important that every office or every department or every division should know each employee's course of work or scope of work, so that there will never be an overlap. Because the effects of the overlap is, number one is confusion. It creates confusion among the members, who's who about this work. Okay. It number two is it creates, aside from the confusion, it creates conflict, diba? Because if this is my work and someone will going to interfere in my work, then it would not be right in my part. So that's the reason why it will create conflict among. So not knowing by these two employees conflicting with each other is that the problem is never theirs. Okay? The problem is within the system, because there is actually a work overlap among the divisions of work of labor. Now, this is actually that's the reason why they have to identify the scope of work do they have. Because no, it is very important, as I said, it is very important to identify the scope, no, of work in order for it to be engaged and to make your time more efficient and productive. Okay, because the third reason why we have to avoid the overlaps is because the redundancy of the process, which eats much of your time, okay, which consumes much of effort doing nothing because of conflicts of the of the output, diba? So yeah, those are the things or the bad effects of the overlapping. That's the reason why the software should be designed by by identifying all these overlaps. No, the software will going to engage the overall concept based on the business domain that so that overlapping of work may be avoided and never compromised. So this is actually the key concept of the enterprise architecture in order for them to make this particular thing working for the entire business concept. Now, the number three is the scenario planning. It is actually the way to assert control over an uncertain world by identifying assumptions about the future and determining how your organization and application will respond. Uh, One of the good example of this is actually the using of the what if analysis. What if what if this scenario comes? What if this aspect would come? What if what if this incident comes? Do we have a backdoor for that? Do we have a contingency plan for that? So what if the flood comes and all of our servers has been fully flooded? Do we have a backup for this? Do we have a contingency plan? Because having a data has no be losing a data is means like you're losing a business, the whole business. So that's the reason why information is very important. So by doing this, now you're going to have a business continuity plan. So okay, and the business continuity plan is actually a serious serious topic that has to talk about. Okay, this includes the technology that you're going to use. This includes the business process that you're going to integrate on your business. Okay, so those are the things that they need to tackle about. Okay, the next is yung technology. Okay, the standards and policies. This refers on the what we call here the technology, processes, products, and patterns. Okay. Based from the technology that we are using, how does the process goes, and then after that, what could be the by this process, is there any value added value added value added chain to this particular product? And by determining this on how frequent it is, it's happening, okay, then the patterns will come. And after these patterns, by distinguishing all of these patterns, you are actually creating a standard. And these standards should be written as a form of the policy. Going back to my, the emerging technology class, no? I am actually, our professor just opened a topic on how does the knowledge, how does the knowledge is coming into life as a part of the integration of the business. Okay, so as far as I remember, doing that, we have to consider this what we call tacit knowledge. No. The implicit knowledge, the explicit knowledge, and the tacit knowledge. Okay, now by doing this, the implicit knowledge means this is actually, the explicit knowledge is the knowledge that is actually, given to you by your respective company. Just like, for example, your boss orders you to read a manual from the company, and yet you are reading the manual. All of the knowledge that the manual contents is actually included in the explicit knowledge, transferring into your knowledge. Now, based on that knowledge, okay, you're going to have, you're going to formulate an idea on how to ease things up. As time goes by, you're learning, and since that you are learning, you are actually trying to make these ways more efficient, less effort. In other words, in Tagalog terms, that is actually diskarte. Diskarte. Hindi diskartehan mo na yung mga bagay-bagay. So those are the things that, those are the things that you are able to learn. And those learnings that you're adding up to that explicit knowledge becomes an implicit knowledge. Okay? Now, by doing this, this is actually the most problem about it. If we are actually have this kind of thinking, and then someone comes in, it will be very, very difficult for him to know the standards of rules, because if you're going to teach about him the standards, and yet you are teaching the implicit standards that you just acquired, basically there will be a confusion on that part, on how are you going to how does this reader or this new entrant will be comprehending all the processes. So that's one scenario. Another scenario is that, let's say for example, you are in the organization that you have to seek it over. Laging nangyayari yan. So it always happens, especially abroad. Just like, for example, if I were the programmer and I try to seek everything, and then someone comes in, and then after that, this someone will going to ask you, how did you do that? So what's your response? Normally, among here in the Filipino nature, why do I have to tell you? You have to seek for yourself. Why do I have to tell you? Pinaghirapan ko yan. And then you have to seek on your own. Okay? which is very, very, adverse, very adverse in terms of the other nationality. Just like, for example, India. You know how successful India is, okay, in terms of technology, because they are actually, one of the culture that they have is that, let's say for example, there's an Indian here that is actually programming, and someone come in, no, with the same nationality, and ask him, how did you do that? The Indian would say, you just sit here and I'm going to teach you from head to foot, okay? But I will be requiring much of your time, so are you willing? So these are, this is actually the difference of our culture from the others. That's the reason why progress for us is, very, very stagnant. Uh-huh. So those are the things that we need to 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 you know to know. Now, in this sense, no, going back to that knowledge, by the time that, this implicit knowledge that you just acquired, no, has been already transferred to all the members of the organization, then it will be put into manual. It will be put into writing, because it is actually generally accepted already. Now, so in that aspect, that's the standard and policies come in. Okay. And that is, in other words, that is what we call tacit knowledge. Now, from the tacit knowledge, once it has been put down into a general body of knowledge, then someone come in, it will become again an explicit knowledge, which, this employee have to read all over again. So over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Now, in this concept, okay, so I hope that you, in this concept, no, this is actually the cycle of the transfer of knowledge from one form into another. So it is very important for us to know the standards, but the end of the day, now it will always rely on the standards and the policies that the organization is, is implementing. Now, the last is IT risk management. It is actually aligned to the enterprise and risk management plan. Okay. So, in terms of this, what we call planning, okay, right? So, we are actually going towards to this, what we call directives. Alright. The directives, okay, basically, it is actually the milestone. In the technical term, this is actually the milestone. Okay. Right? So as you can see, there is a now, there is a next, and then there's the later. So the important here is the now. What would be our plan? Okay? And this plan should be, aligned to our mission, vision, okay, goals, diba? Alright, and then after that, if we will going to achieve all of those accomplishments that is needed by this milestone, we will be looking towards ahead here. So, just like for example, I always try to ask my students, what, 10 years from now, what you're gonna be? 10 years from now, what you're gonna be? And then they are asking me, they are just responding, replying, Someday, sir, I'm going to be an IT professional doing programming in a company, just like Microsoft, diba? Microsoft, what else? Sybase, diba? Just like, for example, the VMware, so something like that. Now, so the second question that I'm just throwing at him is, so what are you doing right now in order for you to accomplish this goal? Sir, um, aside from attending the class, no, what are you doing right now to accomplish this goal? And the student never answers back, no, never replied back to me. Okay, that means he's doing nothing. So which is bad, because he always thinks that graduation would be the key for him to go there. Actually, that is just one factor, but you have to enrich yourself a knowledge, no, so that you will be able, when that time comes, you would be qualified based on that requirements. Just like for example, aside from attending your IT class, you should go to some seminars. There's a lot of free seminars out there. Okay, and you should be practicing your programming. You should be collecting some certificates, aligned to your dreams. Those are the things, and this is actually what I'm talking about right now. So, meaning to say, what we are doing in the now is actually the reflection of the next, or maybe the reflection that will be requiring by the later. So, in this concept, we are actually trying to set our milestone. Okay, the milestone. And milestone is okay, milestone is milestone is a very essential part for you to know your directions. Okay, an enterprise architect must communicate these following directives. Okay, this is just one part of the directives. Okay, the enterprise architect must transform this strategy into an actionable items, which is the strategy roadmap. Okay, the strategy roadmap. Okay, so this is actually the concept of this this picture. Then, in this concept, okay, the next picture will be the enterprise architect, okay, needs to complete the necessary groundwork right at the beginning, okay, of the project to help the PMO assess projects against the business strategy. Right? Now, next is that project originated at the enterprise architect must level and transcend the PMO level for better execution and must be aligned to the organization's overall strategy and objectives. Alright? So in this case, now I just intended to capture the presentation. Pardon to the reporter's screenshot. I just screenshot this one because this captures my attention. Okay, in terms of my report, how does it relate to my report? That's the reason why I just captured it, no? But um, credit is never mine. Okay, credits to the reporter of this. Okay, um, I just use this one in order for me to deliver it more efficiently. Okay, because the concept of what I'm trying to say here is, integrated in this kind of topic, in this topic. Okay, so the last presenter that just presented to us, no, is actually the how to implement the effective strategy architecture plan. So as you can see, no, he enumerated, no, the steps, okay, that can be helpful in creating an effective strategic plan. There's number one, the study the overall market, okay, and then complete the SWOT analysis, because it will always define the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. No? Okay, and defining this one, you are actually defining the goals of this, and developing department goals. You are trying to decompose all of the functions from the general into more specific, okay, to more specific, okay, manner which the organization can cope up, no, into more operational aspect. Okay, set short terms objectives, and then next is to identify the staffing. All right, and then after that, by identifying this one, they identify the key performance indicators from these staffs, no. So by identifying the needs of our customers, okay, address the individual's needs to achieve goals, assess and the financial results. Okay, so by this, no, it also develops the sub-architecture strategy. Okay. So there's a business architecture, okay, and then there's a data architecture from the business side of view. So going back to the example that I just cited, the wall and the force, okay, is you have to reinforce the wall in order for these risks will be overcome, no. Now the application architecture and the technology and infrastructure. Now, all right, so the succeeding reporter just reported this, okay. So as you can see now, how does the enterprise architecture implementation methodology. So he cited, no, the phase by phase architecture, okay, and how are we going to select the tools that we will be using, okay. Now, by elaborating this, no, okay, this is actually the the most essential aspect. You are actually documenting this you're in the process now of documenting your framework. As my example a while ago, no, this is actually the process of how you convert this implicit knowledge into a tacit knowledge by this, no. So it is very very important now for you to have an standards with this. Okay. Sorry. All right now. All right now. This is actually the concept of the Dragon one. Okay. Right, an enterprise architecture. As you can see, now it is based on divided into into architecture layer. So they have this what we call governance architecture. They have the business and organizational architecture. They have the information architecture and the technical architecture. Okay. So along with the governance architecture, these are the plans, okay, that they are trying to grasp on. Okay, but there's a legend on it. So as you can see, this is a high risk. So this should be the priority. Okay. The red is the orange. The orange circle is actually the behind the schedule. Okay, and the green is as planned, right? It happens as a planned, and then the neutral, neutral rated date. So the white ones are the neutral dated, no? So as you can see now, along with the schedule that they are set. So there is actually the maturity. So in order for the maturity comes along, actually this will be discussed by the next reporter after me, no? So they will be discussing regarding this what we call maturity. Okay? So meaning to say that in terms of the maturity itself, in order for you to develop the succeeding program or succeeding system that is integrated to the previous ones, you have to check all of the behavior, the test, no, if it is fully functional and accepted, generally accepted. Once it is actually generally accepted, then therefore you can create another new, okay, integrated to this particular system. Okay, so this is actually the on how I translate this particular diagram. That is this, no? Actually, based on the diagram, it aligns to the common levels of maturity. So they do have the initial, okay, they do have the initial, meaning to say, if they do have the initial, so meaning to say the initial is number one, yung if the maturity is 1, then it is actually in the initial maturity. Just like for example, so how do they define the initial? It is actually chaotic, ad hoc, individual, heroics, no? So it is the starting point for use the new or undocumented repeated concepts. Alright, if the maturity level is 2, yeah, it is actually repeatable. So the concept is at least documented sufficiently such that repeating the same steps may be attempted. Okay. And if the maturity is 3 or the M is 3, I think there's no 3 here. This one is 3. Alright, if it is actually defined, portrayed as defined. Now, defined is actually defined. No, the concept defined confirms as the standard business concept. So the safe level of maturity is number 3. Okay, and number 4 is there a 4 here? Yes, this one, 4. So the 4 is the concept is quantitatively managed in accordance with the agreed upon metrics. So if there's a 5, if any, okay, I cannot see because the font is too small, right? It belongs to this what we call optimizing. The concept management includes deliberate concept optimization improvement. Yan. Ayan. So sabi dito, to indicate the maturity for an entity class like concept, we use the M, which is stands for maturity, where you will fill in the level of dots. Okay. In this figure, no, overview, EA concepts, overview above you, here in your screen, no, see an example of this. Ayun. So, okay, so a data visualization, okay, a visualization rule is that, you know, in this particular company, that if the plan level of maturity is of the rollout scale, it is not equal to the current level. The shape, okay, is colored red, likewise with orange and green. So planned is equal to current. No? Now, in this concept, I would like to reiterate, okay, this particular concept. In terms of the maturity level, for instance, the concept of the service orientation is maturity level 3, but only for the 50% of the application. So meaning to say, even if it is a part of the standard, so they are actually assuming that it is, most of the organization, no, is trying to the level of acceptance is, there's a resistance self, no, the still, and the level of assistance, the resistance should be 50%, no. So meaning to say that the standards is never safe pa, no. So basically, because it is never accepted pa, no. So since that, this is never accepted, no, there a lot of, a lot of practices should be performed, a lot of assistance should be performed. And when we are talking about the assistance, we are talking about funds, we are talking about, resources, we are talking about manpower itself, blah blah blah, etc., etc. So those are the things that we have to consider in the management aspect. Okay, and of course the most essential is time. Okay, so because of this time, no, how are you going to cover it up if these people is over there trying to make assistance, and yet his operations has been left to his post, no? So those are the things that we need to consider. What would be the contingency plan, no, in order for this organization to operate, to cover up all this, this assistance itself. So those are the things that we need to consider in these concepts, right? Now, it says here that, this again, this is actually the credit is never mine. Okay? The credit is for the reporters who reports this. Okay, this is the time now that I would like to emphasize the step 8, no, of his, of his report. Okay, so by the strategic plan, no, they use these balance scorecards by documenting this, no? And in the business level, no, they use the diagrams such as flowcharts. Okay, information level, no, there's a different level on it, no? Just like, for example, yung what I just cited here, no. So in the services level, they uses the systems diagram. So as you can see, there's many tools. There are so many tools, no, we have to use in each level. Okay. Now, by doing this, no, you are, as an enterprise architecture, this is actually the example of an enterprise architecture, no. On the file servers, what are the data? Okay. In this authentication server, what would be the data to be restored? The data servers, application server as well, and so on and so forth. Now, along with this, okay, they have these what we call engaging at this what we call, if it is minimum critical or business critical, no. All right, so mission critical, business critical, or it is operational. So is it a part of the business, of the mission, of the operation, or the administrative services? Now, if it is a part of this, identifying all of this, no, okay, who will be the one who's going to manage with this? Who will be the department, okay, that we will be responding on this? A focal department that will going to update, okay, to follow up regarding on the updates. And when this roadmap tackles the when, okay, this roadmap, is it finished by 2021? Is it acceptable by 2022? Is it generally accepted by 2023? No? So those are the things. What would be the maturity level on 2021? What would be the maturity level of 2022 and 2023? So those are the things that we need to consider. Okay, and as you can see, we are talking about is what we call schedules. Ayan. So why do we need to scheduling the data? No, we need to schedule the data. Actually, enterprise scheduling is very different from there's another scheduling on this. Because if we do have the unlimited resources, we have this unfiltered access to data. We have this unlimited access to data. Okay, we have this unlimited operation. Okay. If we do have a data that is even the operation stop and doesn't continue at all, no. If we do have this a low priority value of work, if we do have the limited time, unlimited time, we do have the time that we want, yeah. If we do have the data which is resides from one system only, okay, then if we do have the data or the process that is not growing in length, then therefore we don't need enterprise scheduling. But that is actually heaven, diba? That is actually heaven in some organization, because we don't have time. No, we have an ample of time to do things right. But in our concept, in the practical aspect, this is actually the ideal, but it would never be practical, because business has a resources, and these resources is only just limited resources. They do have the filtered access to data, okay, because because of the security purpose, and we do have the limited access, unfiltered, filtered. So since that this is limited, it should be filtered, diba? The operations are continuously under the transformation. There is always a high priority, okay, and limited time. There's always a limited time. Now, I want to emphasize this, what we call time. How are we going to budget this time? Since that I'm talking about the scheduling here. So, as an example, in the enterprise job scheduling, okay, you have to identify what would be, if I'm going to make a system, okay, if I'm going to make a system, what are the considerations of modules that I'm going to use? Of course, there should be a scheduler. The user should define when the job are about to run. So, and then there's a batch execution. Okay, in terms of the batch execution, okay, does it collects data, and after this data, if it reaches the certain amount, then it will be go into process. So we have to identify that. Because, as a scheduler, okay, it always affects the scheduler. Just like, for example, if we're going to a thousands of data every minute, if we're going to process a thousands of data every minute, then it would be very very tedious for the hardware to cope up. And since that is very tedious, we have to to engage in much more sophisticated hardware that can do the job. And this hardware is never free. Yeah. So in this concept, we have to understand that there's always an economy beyond. Now, the question is, can this economy can be absorbed by the organization or not? If not, as I said, there's always a limited resources. Okay? Then there's an old adage, pag maigsi ang kumot, matutong mamaluktot. Di ba? So those are the things that we need to consider. Okay? So another thing is the event monitoring. Di ba? So from this event monitoring, okay, we should be able to identify what and where to watch. Okay? Are we going to watch from the server side? Are we going to watch from the operational side? If your structure is by branch or by cluster, where are you going to put the monitoring side itself of the records? The record events, most of the banks, especially when I'm working in the banks, they are actually very particular in this what we call audit trail. So, and the system, system audit. Okay. So in this concept, it should be, the interface, the default interface or the common interface that should be seen on the software that you're going to use. And next is use the interface, user interface. You have to view the currents. Okay, you have to view the currents. Okay, he should have a capability to view the current execution and the history. Okay, and the environment should be defined based on the scope of work, the scope of work that it should be. Now this employee should be. Okay, and then the queuing. Okay, is it a priority order? It should be queuing. So as you can see from the Dragon 1 directives, there's always a queuing. Diba? So in this concept now, records storage, the jobs, events, and auditing. So, alright. Now, next is actually I'm going to sorry. Alright, so in this concept, I would like to alright, so I would like to alright, to insert another what do you call here, another slides which I think would be possible, okay, based on what the project managers or the architecture, enterprise architecture is doing. Okay, so this is what we call the PERT CPM. Okay, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but basically this is how it goes. Okay. Please wait for a while. My system is loading. And so here, so this one. Okay, so this is actually the what the PERT CPM is doing. Okay, as you can see, this is more on project management side. But for the sake of my report, this is how they you know they process the scheduling itself. Okay, so hope you get along with me with this, no? And slideshow. Right now, the PERT CPM stands for the Program Evaluation Review Technique, and the CPM starts for critical path method. So in this concept, now this is actually the technique that is used in order for us to know what are the process not to be delayed, what are the duration of our time, okay, what would be who will be the person in charge for this activity, okay, yeah, and is there any allowance for this, what would be the earliest time to start the project, and what would be the latest time to start the project, and how does you going to see in an overview, okay, how does one activity affects the scheduling of another activity, okay. So I'm going to present this this PowerPoint presentation in a simple scenario, okay. So just like for example, let's assume that you are a project manager, okay, of a team composed of 10 people. You are instructed to build a system, no? You chunk down all the modules and disturb all the modules among your men. So, okay, and by configuring all of the modules that will be required on your system, no, you found out that there is actually, it should have a report generation, it should have a database infrastructure, it should have the interactive communication, it should have the main page, of course, the landing page, it should be the analytics forecasting, it should have an accounting inventory, okay, the budgeting, disbursement, documentation, and testing, okay. These are the modules that will be requiring by the system that you will be making, okay. Now by doing this, no, you try to call your men, okay, to call your team, okay, who will be assigned for this particular task, okay. As you can see, it is composed of people, no. By the way, Joseph is is not an individual person. Maybe he is a manager, no, that has its own team. So in this concept, you are actually the overall, no, the overall man in charge for the overall development of this, okay? Now by doing this, no, we will going to have to replace their name by acronym as per activity. So meaning to say, activity A, no, is in charge for Joseph, activity is for B is for John, C is for Albin, D is for Rachel, and so on and so forth, okay. Now by doing this, no, we also study, okay, what would be the sequence or the series of activities that should be, no? It is just like you're constructing a house, no, you would never be prioritizing the roof. Hindi ka magpapagawa ng bubong muna bago ng pundasyon. Diba? Wala namang bahay na nagpagawa na bubong yung nauna bago yung pundasyon, ano? So meaning to say, there should be a series of work that needs to be done in order for it to be accomplished well, okay. Now so and then this series now is is what do you call this, is, represented by this what we call predecessors. Okay, so yeah. So if we're going to translate all of these, these predecessors, we do have this, the first, okay, the first process, is B, because it has no predecessors at all. Okay, so the start will be sorry for the nasira yung mga fonts, because once the PowerPoint is the Microsoft PowerPoint, if I just transferred in the Google, okay, nagkakaroon siya ng rumble. So medyo may compatibility issues pagdating doon sa mga okay. Now, in this concept, this is B, so the next is the predecessor of B is D. So therefore we will be assuming that B, when B is done, then therefore D and H will be coming next. Okay, the D, and then there's another predecessor of B, which is H. Okay, yeah, and so on and so forth, to make this story short. Okay, this is actually the sequence that we're going to use. Okay, now by doing this, okay, we have to determine the expected time when to finish the project. Okay, by determining the expected time, we have to determine the optimistic time, the probable time, and the pessimistic time. So what are we going to do here? Okay, just like for example, if Joseph, the first, okay. All right, so the optimistic time is the maximum time of the earliest. So let me explain na lang in a much more understandable manner. Okay, just like for example, if I'm going to call A, which is Joseph, okay, papatawag ako, and then I'm going to call for a meeting, and from that meeting, I'm going to ask them one by one what would be the probable time to finish this one. Okay, given all of what you are needing, just like for example, if you need a computer right now, I'm going to give you right now. If you need some manpowers, I'm going to give it right now. Okay, I'm going to, it would never be delayed, once you requested. Okay, given this time, this ample of time, that is favorable to your part. Okay, all of the concept that you will be needing will be favorable to your part. What would be the best time that you can give me? And Joseph said, 4 weeks, sir. 4 weeks. Okay, so what if, okay, those days are in an adverse manner. Just like for example, if I'm giving you, if I'm giving you the computer, there will be a 1 week delay after issuance, before issuance. Okay, you will be requesting manpower. There would be, there would be in a staggered basis. Just like for example, if you would just requesting 20, 5 for now, and then 4 for another day, and then 6 for for the next week. Okay. So what if that is actually the scenario, which is more nearly in a realistic aspect? Okay, what would be the concept? Okay, this is actually the pessimistic 7 weeks. All of those are delayed. All of those are unfavorable to your parts. Yeah. Sir, I would take it 7 weeks. Okay. And what if, okay, if what if there are some parts that will be there are some scenario during the time that would be favorable to your part, and some scenarios that would be unfavorable to your part. Okay, what would be the probable time? So I'm going to give you 5 weeks, sir, if that's the case. So as you can see, Joseph has been responded, no? And so are the other uh, stakeholders are concerned. Okay. Now, by doing this, no, since that we already have a data for this, okay, we will be now computing the mean itself. Okay, the mean. Right now, by computing the mean, that is actually A plus 4M plus B, where A is the pessimistic time, B is the optimistic time, and M is the most probable time. Okay. Now, um, so let's substitute the we're doing math here, but it's not a pure math at all. Okay, so this will be this will be just execution of the formula. A is for the as I said, we will be A is for the optimistic, and then substituting that will be 4 times the 5 weeks, okay, which is the probable time, and B is the uh, the 7 weeks, okay. So 7 weeks, which is the pessimistic time. Okay, now we will be getting the 5.16 now, but in the industry's concern, okay, 5.16 is, as you can see, we are talking about weeks, no? So we will be, if we're going to round this off, we will be getting 5, okay? And if we're going to, if we will be going to this kind of concept, 5.60, okay lang yan, 5, di ba? So 5 siya papatak. Pero what if, what if it falls under 5.6, 5.7, 5.8? Then there definitely we're going to have a problem on that, because if we're going to round it off, that will be equivalent to 6, and we are talking about weeks here, no? So meaning to say, weeks now represents 7 days, and by determining this one, mukhang magkakaroon tayo ng problem dyan, because if we will be exceeding on those days, there might be if we would going to miscalculate those weeks, no? There will be a week that walang gagawin yung tao mo, no? So it would be very very difficult to our part, no? Okay, now, and imagine niyo, di ba, this person is getting the remuneration, and yet he's doing nothing, right? So you would never maximize your resources for that in that concept, and you would never be productive as well, diba? So what we're going to do is to apply the method of this, what we call truncation. Okay, now in the method of the truncation, we don't care if there's if there's a point on it, if there's a decimal point on it. I don't care if it is 5.7, 5.8, 5.5, 5.4, 1, and so on and so forth. As long that it is 5, the whole numbers will represent the whole concept, the whole idea. That truncate this to be 5. Okay. Now, by doing this, by doing the math itself, right? As you can see, medyo sorry yung alignment na nagkaroon ng problem. So A, the expected time for A is 5 weeks, B is 4 weeks, C is 3 weeks, D is 7 weeks, E is 5 weeks, F is 8 weeks, G is 8 weeks, H is 7 weeks, I is 4 weeks, J is 3 weeks, and K is 7 weeks. Ayun. Now, we are actually about to go to this what we call the key, no? We will going to apply now the key. After getting all of this, no, the weeks, we are now about to apply the week. Okay, the key. So how's the key? So this is actually the what it looks like, a key. No? Now, so ES means earliest time to start, EF that's earliest time to finish, D is the duration time, and LS is the late time to start, and LF stands for the late times to finish and the slack. Okay, now, alright, so by doing this, no, let's go back to the what we have just applied before. No? So we will now apply this what we call the key itself. So as you can see how it looks like, okay, it's still the same when we transform the key. Now, since na we do have this one, okay, we will be starting off with this what we call the D. This one, D. The duration. Okay, the duration. And where is the duration? There it is. The expected time. The expected time is equivalent to duration. So, applying this, no, applying the forward. Okay, so we will be getting the duration. Now, as you can see, no, kanina, you just try to read this one, applying the forward pass. So, we will be passing the data forward. Okay, data forward. Okay, so meaning to say, in this concept, since that E has no, has no ending to from start to finish, so we will be assuming that E would be directly go into the finish. Yeah. Now, from this concept, no, we will be starting into 0. 0 plus 4 would be 4. So, meaning to say, if I'm going to translate this one, the earliest time to start for B will be from the beginning, and the latest time, the earliest time to him to start is to finish will be 4. Okay, now next, alright, so from the 4 itself you're going to transfer this one, right, and then 4 plus 7 you will be getting 11, and then 4 plus 7 you will be getting 11. Okay, same concept as this. And then after that, no, and so on and so forth, you will be getting this one. Okay, basta ipasa nyo lang yan from left to right, and then apply the methodology that I just said, no. So you will be getting all of this. Okay, now, oops, there's a conflict on here. Okay, so that's the reason why it cannot be passed, because we have to determine the conflict itself. Okay, so as you can see, if we're going to submit, no, there's a 15 and a 19, which will be represented for the K. Okay, so in this concept, it is just like, you're cooking up adobo. Yeah. So you send Johnny to Alabang to buy vinegar, diba? The ingredients of adobo. It is actually vinegar and the toyo itself, no, the soy sauce. And you send Pedro to Makati. So meaning to say, right? So integrating those one, if you're about to cook now you have to wait for them. Okay, you have to wait for them to arrive. So syempre, vinegar, Juan just went to the Alabang, so we will be expecting him that he will arrive soon, di ba? So one day he arrived, one day talaga, no? So one day he arrived, and okay, it takes him one day to get the suka, okay? But unfortunately, no, still Pedro is not coming in, okay? So we have to wait Pedro. Since that we are waiting Pedro, so we are consuming time waiting for him. So ibig sabihin, if Pedro, no, just come in the third day, no, so meaning to say that is the only time on the third day, that is the only time that I can cook adobo. So in that sense, no, going to that concept itself, no, meaning to say, okay, since that succeeding activity cannot start without completing its components, it is not, it is always the activity that has the latest time to finish will be the basis of the start time of the succeeding. So meaning to say, in other words, we will be getting the larger value. So same with here, there's a conflict around here. Okay, as you can see, there's an arrow on it. So we will be getting 18. 18 instead of 14. So, and then after that, poof, there's a, there's a conflict on here. As you can see, 23 and 26. So, as you can see, we just follow the order. Okay, so we applied 26. So, 26 plus 3 is 29. Okay, so therefore, okay, and as you can see, there's a conflict around here. There's 22 and 29, and we will be following 29 instead of 22. Okay, now, so approximately there's a 29 weeks in the project. Okay, so it covers 29 weeks. So how many was that? Okay, so 6 months? I don't think so. I think so. All right, now, in this concept, applying the backward pass. Now, since that we just performed the forward pass and we just get the 29 weeks duration. So, we are now about to apply the backward pass. Okay, why? In order for us to determine the slack time. Okay, now, what's the importance of the slack time? So that this is actually the basis of how are we going to adjust with the schedule itself. Okay, now, if there's no slack time on it, then there will be, that means this activity is the priority now and would not be delayed, should not be delayed, because once that it becomes delayed, then therefore the whole process, okay, the whole process from A to J will going to be in a chaotic manner. Now, they're going to adjust all of their schedules. So that's the reason we have to comprehend, no, what would be the overall concept of this. Okay, just like for example 29, we will be starting from the word backward. Okay, from left to right. Now we will be going to right to left. So 29, okay, how are we going to do this? Okay, 29 minus 3 will be 26. Ayun. So, as you can see, backward lang siya. And then after that, doing this, okay, since that this is actually, notice that E has no backward predecessor. So, therefore, he will become to finish, no? So, ang i-reflect natin sa kanya, since that, 29 is the duration itself, the total duration, we will be applying 29. But in this concept, the 26 would be, just like the forward pass, we will be applying the backward pass, we will be submitting or passing the data that we just collected from J to A and K, and then after that, minus. So as you can see, this is how I solved it. 26 minus 5, that will be 21. 26 minus 7, that will be 19. 29 minus 4, that will be 25. So, and then after that, okay, so as you can see, apply the same method on it. The 25, okay, and 19, and there's no problem about it. But the point here is that there's a problem in here. There's a conflict again. Okay. Oops, there's a conflict. So it should be what are we going to follow? 25 or 21? Because sabi dito, in the backward pass, every method you applied during the forward pass shall be reversed. Okay? So in this case, we shall choose the least digit. So as you can see, sabi niya doon sa rule, from the rule itself, all the method that we applied from the forward pass will be reversed. So meaning to say, if in the forward pass we read left to right, we'll go into right. In the backward pass, we will go into right to read from right to left. Okay. Now, in the forward pass, we choose the largest number, but in the backward pass, we will go into to choose the smallest number. Okay. So in the forward pass, we apply the method of addition, but in the backward pass, we will going to apply the method of subtraction. Okay. Now, so since that there's a conflict on it, so therefore, as I explained a while ago, we will be choosing 21 instead of 25. So there you go. There's a 21 on it. 21 minus 8, that will be 13. So, and oops, there's a conflict again. So same method, which would be the smallest, 13 or 22, then the answer will be 13. How about here? 15 and 11, so the answer will be 11. So there you go. Okay, 13. 13 and 11, 7. 11 minus 7, that will be 4. 13 minus 7, that will be 6. And oops, there's a conflict again. Which one we're going to use? 4 or 6? The answer is 4. 4 minus 4, that will be 0. So as you can see, it is equivalent now to 0. Now, so the last part is getting the slack. Okay, how are we going to the slack? Okay, in getting the slack, the period, you may have an option whether to subtract the earliest time to start from the latest starting time, or subtract the earliest time to finish. But in the strict practices, now we always use the finish, because this is actually the conclusion of the finish, the result. Okay. Now, in this concept, ito yung malapit sa katotohanan. Alright, so in this case, 4 minus 4, that will be 0. Okay. So next, 13 minus 11, that will be 2. 11 minus 11, that will be 7, and so on and so forth. Okay. So as you can see now, these are the whole data that we just gathered from the key itself. Now, so what does it mean? Okay, number 1, we just get the duration, 29 days, 29 weeks, diba? And number 2, we just identified who is the recurring activity. As you can see, the recurring activity or the simultaneous activity is D and H, diba? So mas madali siyang ma-visualize, nakikita na natin. And from this concept, alam natin who are the persons or who are the activity that has an allowance. Just like for example, C has an allowance of 12 days. So pwede pa siyang malate, diba? So in this concept, has an allowance of 3 days, 3 weeks, So meaning to say, he has a buffer kung sakaling dito medyo maurong yung kanyang sistema, Kung medyo nagkaroon ng pornada or yung tinatawag nating na-atraso yung yung deliverables, no? So, meaning to say, meron pa siyang allowance, pwede pa siya. Pero si G, he doesn't have, no? So, meaning to say, okay, we are now about to ano ngayon yon? So, all of the slack time that ends up to 0, okay, will be ending up as a critical path. Okay, critical path. So, meaning to say, these are the process that needs not to be delayed. Because once it has been delayed, then therefore the whole process will be delayed as well. So, these are the process that needs to be prioritized. All of the resources that they will be needing should be supplied as soon as possible. Okay? Now, these are the concept of this. Now, as you can see, John, Alfred, Merwin, Butch, is actually what we call here, belongs to the critical path. Okay? Now, so actually, marami pang pwedeng gawin dyan. Okay? As a part of the management aspect, marami pang pwedeng gawin yan. There's lots of technique. What I just taught to you is the basic concept. As again, the basic concept. So marami pa yan. Just like for example, what are you going to do if your boss tries to tell you that this project should be because of this since that we're getting the mean itself, we a while ago we just get the mean, diba? So we could just go to this distributive data, so if there's a probability na matatapos natin, so we can use that one, processing this one, we can use whether we can actually determine using this one, the per CPM, we can actually determine the probability of that we are about to commit to the client. The question here is that since that we just computed 29 weeks, diba, a while ago, 29 weeks, is this the time that we're going to commit to the client, diba? So meaning to say, or are we going to add some buffer on it, diba? Hindi ka mag-set ng isang time na saktong-sakto. Dapat may allowance. 'Di ba? So, yun yung contingency plan for that, no? So, ang tanong diyan is if there's in this case, are we going to determine are we about to determine that probability? Probability of what? Of committing it to your client. Are we going to commit or are we going to reject? So that's a different story. Okay? That's a different story. Another thing is, what if the boss tells you that if you are in the side that it's never committable, diba? Kasi talagang yung probability niya is, talagang mababa na matatapos ko yung project. Therefore, in our point of view, hindi natin i-accept yung project. Diba? But if what the boss tells you, you have to accept the project itself. You have to accept the project because, this project belongs to our high-valued clients. No? And this project could mean a lot to me. If you cannot do that, then therefore, I'm going to get someone who can. How are you going to do that? Diba? You'll end up with the loss of job. Completely bummed, diba? So in this aspect, what are you going to do? There's a series of adjustment that you're going to do, and that is what we call crashing. This one is what we call crashing method. So you are about to crash the data, Kaya lang, if you're going to crash the data itself, then therefore there will be a chaotic aspect. Just like for example, it's like There are some methods kasi na hindi po pwedeng i-crash. Pag sinabi natin crash, you are just shortening it up, no, the methods. Just like for example, if it has a duration of 7 days, diba? Si D has a duration of days. Can we make it 5? Diba? So, uh, kung gagawin natin yan, it might affect the quality of the software. It might affect the quality of the product. Diba? So, just like for example, a pancake, diba? Nagluto ka ng pancake. And the pancake, the standard of the pancake is actually 30 seconds. And yet, you're going to shorten it up into, 10 seconds. So, what you're going to do, lalaksan mo yung apoy. And then after that, what could happen? Pwedeng masunog yung loob, yung labas, pero yung loob is, pilaw, diba? So those are the things that you need to consider about that, ayun, and of course, syempre, since that you were involving manpower here, prices could go up because it's rush, diba? Another thing is yung yung reklamo ng tao sa iyo, no? So, kasi syempre, you're about to get them in an overtime manner, 'di ba? Kasi may mag-overtime kaya tataas yung yung expenses mo. And of course, no, syempre papapasukin mo sila ng Linggo, Sabado na dapat, they're on the province having their family already. And yet they cannot come to their province because of what you did, no? So those are the things that you have to consider if you are actually in this particular scheduling, and this is actually a vast considerations that you have to consider for this, no? So ayun. Now there's a question about it here. So what is the difference between the architecture and the architecture and the project manager? Actually, I just made a written report on this. Okay, so in this case study, sorry, hindi pala sa case study. On my written report here, I just tackled it up. Okay. So, saan ba yan? So, let me share it to you. Okay. So, para at least makita nyo na. Yan. Enterprise architecture versus the project management. Okay. Most organization, experience tensions between the central enterprise architecture team and the solutions architects assigned from the projects. While the enterprise architects are keen to ensure the integrity of the overall business operating model, and it is IT support, project managers and architects are motivated by the need to deliver local solutions in line with the agreed upon projects, budgets, and schedules. When these interest conflicts, the project managers are often highlighted. Yeah. This is because change project draw upon the strong business support, while the enterprise architect are seen in serving the worthy but less intangible cause. Okay? So, for me, it doesn't matter, di ba? It doesn't matter as long as you can deliver the time, no? So, yun yung kailangan nating tingnan, na yung output, since that they are actually in the business which is a result based, no? So, for me, it doesn't matter. Okay? The predictable result, okay, is a proliferation to the incompatible solutions. It is observed that several practices used by the companies to address these conflicts. So, meaning to say, it is among the behavior of the company on how are they going to separate the scope of work, di ba? So, so in this case, now provide strong governance in the mechanisms, okay? So they have to okay, and then keep up the enterprise architecture up to date. So meaning to say, no, and then so ayan. So An organization's enterprise architecture should be derived directly from the business and IT strategies, governance mechanism, and executive level support should be set up to ensure that the business change portfolio is aligned with these strategies and architecture. Effective governance, no, will ensure that enterprise level architects. Okay. So, these are the contents na ng aking write-up. Now, if you are interested with it, no, I'm going to post it one by one para at least mas mabasa ninyo. Ayan. So you can just post the video, okay? Para mas mabasa ninyo yung concept. And then, after that is one, okay? Ayan. So, the powerful way. And next is, alright, and then this one. Ayan. And since that we don't have an ample of time, so therefore, ang ginawa ko na lang is para at least basahin ninyo. So, inaano ko naman. So, these are my references. Okay? These are my references. Okay? Okay, which I just okay, this one. Now I'm going to let you watch a video. Okay, I'm going to let you watch a video that will be, you know, okay, so that will be, I will be exhibiting, and this video is actually from YouTube. Ayan. So, this won't take you long. You know? 15 minutes lang naman. This 15 minutes will do. Okay. And this is actually the tools that I'm going to use, that we use, no, in order for you to have this conflict. Sorry.
Hi, Coach Anthony here from Learn to Trade Philippines.
If you really care about performance, one of the first things you absolutely must.
So this is actually the tool that we were
Hello there and welcome to this video. Let's discover all the tips and features you need to learn to start using Microsoft Project Professional 2016 quickly and easily. Leave us feedback in the video description to improve our following guides for Microsoft Office. Microsoft Project is used to organize tasks, duties, appointments, and also resources in the best and easiest way in both private and business environments. In this video, we will cover the very basic features to start. When you open Project, a welcome screen appears showing ready templates with different topics you can start from. Furthermore, on the left, you can directly open projects made in the past. In order to understand how to use Microsoft Project, let's start from a blank document by clicking on Blank Project. At this point, the general workspace opens. This is divided into two main sides. On the left, you have a quick table that will contain the full list of the tasks to be done. And on the right, you have the Gantt chart, which is used to check the job spread over the timeline above, indicating 1 day per column. First, you have to define the task to be completed on the left. Under Task Name, give a name to your task, and define when it starts under Start, and when it should finish under Finish. Once created, the new task appears on the Gantt chart as a colored rectangle. The length depicts the entire duration of the task. You can customize its appearance by double-clicking on it. Also, use the bar in the bottom right corner to modify the zoom on the Gantt chart. In case you make a mistake and you want to remove the task from the list, just right-click on it and go to Delete Task. You can extend or shorten the time duration of the task directly on the Gantt chart as well by clicking and dragging from its edges, or move the time period by clicking and dragging it. On the left, under Duration, you can see the total number of working days, D, required between the start and the finish date, By default, the working days are counted from Monday to Friday, with no holidays in between. You can set up the working days and the holidays by going to the Project tab on top, and then to change working time. Below, under Exceptions, add all holidays and non-working days you need. Apply these changes by pressing the OK button. Inside the Gantt chart, all non-working days and holidays are indicated by dark gray columns. Also, if you right-click on the taskbar and go to Split Task, you can split a task in multiple parts. This will have an impact on the start and the finish dates, but not on the duration time. The bars will become independent, changing lengths according to the working days under duration. If you hover on the far left side of the bar, you will be able to adjust the percentage of completion of the task, indicated by a thin dark line on the bar itself. Notice that this follows the working days only. Besides the tasks list and the Gantt chart, you also have a timeline at the very top. This does not list all the tasks you have, but just the ones you prefer to show off. To add tasks to the timeline, just right-click on the task and go to Add to Timeline. To remove it, right-click on it from the timeline and go to Remove from Timeline. You can check all the information related to one task by double-clicking on it. In the Task Information panel, you can adjust percentage, priority, duration, and dates under General. You can add custom comments under Notes, and you can also specify the final deadline for each task under Advanced. This should be the date you must take into account, and this is indicated as a down green arrow on the Gantt chart. If you edit your task and you go over the deadline, Project will warn you under the information column on the left. In case you have tasks that are dependent, for example, when one can't start if another one is not finished yet, you can use the links. To create a link, you have to first select all the tasks that are dependent. Just hold Ctrl down and select all the tasks in the correct order. Then just click on the link the selected tasks. In the Gantt chart, all links are indicated through arrows, indicating the type of dependence. By default, you create Finish to Start links, which means that the following task must not start until the preceding one or predecessor is finished. These links are quite useful, since Project will automatically organize your tasks in order to respect this dependence. On the left, the predecessors column indicates the row number the task is dependent on. If it is 3, that task is dependent on the third row task in the list. If you go to Predecessors on the Task Information panel, you can check all the links related to the task. Under Type, you can also change the kind of link. Choose Start to make it start when the predecessor starts. Choose Finish to make it finish when its predecessor finishes. Or choose Start to make the task finish when the predecessor starts.
Everyone loves spreadsheets. Actually, they don't. But check this out. Okay, Monday.com, get...
Always check the Gantt chart for a quick representation. Consider that the start and finish dates of the tasks may change depending on the link chosen. You can still move and edit tasks as you like, but do respect the time dependence given from the links in order not to get any errors. In case you make any bad or conflicting entries, taskbars may have dashed contours. Inside Project, you have two kinds of tasks. So far, we have seen the manually scheduled tasks indicated by a pin symbol under the Task Mode column. You can also choose an auto-scheduled task indicated by a blue rectangular symbol. Separate from the other tasks, the auto-scheduled tasks may be fully edited and organized by Project according to the several fixed constraints such as workload, deadlines, and holidays. Indeed, the way to edit them is identical to the manually scheduled tasks. In the Task Information panel of the auto-scheduled task under Advanced, you can set the same option as seen, plus other new details such as constraint type, date, and task type that are specific for the auto-scheduled tasks. In case you have tasks that are not yet defined, you can simply add them in your task list and leave them off by going to Inactivate above. In this way, these won't interfere at all with the management of the other tasks. Besides tasks, you can also add and use summaries and milestones. You can find these under the Task tab in the Insert section. The summary is a collection of several tasks grouped together. Create a new summary, rename it, and set it manually or auto under task mode. With the summary open, add all the tasks that it must contain, or simply select existing ones from the far left, right-click and use Cut, and then paste to add these inside the summary. Close the summary to add new tasks outside of it. In the Gantt chart, the summary is a simple container, long enough to contain the earliest start and the latest finish date of all its tasks. Just in case the summary is defined as manually scheduled, you are able to modify its duration directly. Just include all the relevant tasks in the time, or it will show errors indicated by a red-colored bar. The milestones are used to fix a goal. Inside the Gantt chart, this is a single point with a label indicating its day and month. To save your project document, just go to File and then to Save As. Choose Browse to save inside your computer. Project documents are saved with a .mpp file format. You can also include multiple projects inside one, especially if you want to take care of multiple projects at the same time. If you go to the Project tab and then to Subproject, you can browse for your project file to import into the current one. This will show up as an auto-scheduled summary. This is a live link. If the imported projects are edited, you will see all the changes that are affected. Project Professional is also very useful to organize tasks inside a business team, composed by resources. These are people that are going to perform the different tasks listed inside the plan. In the bottom right-hand corner, click on Team Planner. This workspace lets you add the resources and assign the respective tasks. On top, under the Resource tab, click on Add Resources to add people. You can import from your own address book or add manually by using Work Resource. Then, double-click on the new row to define the resource name, email, group, telephone number, their availability under Resource Availability, and other options. If you go to Change Working Time, you can add non-working days and holidays to the specific resource. Click OK to apply all. Additionally, under Unassigned Tasks, you have all the tasks that must still be assigned to your team. You may drag and drop a task to the current resource row, matching the current time placement by observing the timeline above. In case you have a task split in several parts, you can assign it by moving the last part and even assign different parts to different resources. When you come back to the Gantt chart workspace, you will see the resource names assigned to each task. While assigning tasks, Project highlights bad entries through a thin red contour. For example, when a task starts on a non-working time, or when you assign too many tasks to a single resource, making it over-allocated. In case a resource is over-allocated, you have to distribute the daily working hours in the correct way. If you go to the Task Usage workspace, you can check day by day the total working hours per resource for each single task listed. By default, each resource can work a maximum 8 hours per working day in total. If you assign more than this amount, the resource will be over-allocated, as the red icon on the far left suggests. In this case, you have to spread the working hours through different resources or tasks in order to reach the maximum 8 hours. You can change the hours by selecting the cell and typing inside. For complex projects, the auto-scheduled tasks are managed automatically, depending on the constraints inserted. You can also assign a single task to multiple resources inside the Task Usage workspace. If you right-click on a task and go to Assign Resources, you can add other resources to work on a single task. Just select the resource to add and then go to Assign. This will make it easier to distribute the working hours on each task. Inside Project, you have the possibility to make quick reports on your project plan. If you go to the Report tab, you can create a new sheet through the New Report button. These reports are used to see and quantify the distribution of work to be done, the load of each single resource, and additional information through descriptions, charts, and tables that you can add and edit through all the design tools on top. All these reports are saved inside the Report workspace in the bottom right corner and listed under the Recent button on top. Thanks for watching this video. Subscribe to us for more amazing free videos for Microsoft Office.
Okay, so thank you so much. Ayan. So, as you can see, no, this what I just try to exhibit to you, my dear, my fellow colleagues, is that this is actually the tool we are using if we are scheduling we want to schedule an efficient to make a efficient schedule on our project, no. Actually, there's so many tools in the market, no, just like for example yung worksheet, meron siya, no. Meron din siya yung sa Sparks, no, yung EA na tinatawag, no. So kasama yung schedule, no. But one thing that I like from this I like from this software, hindi siya kasi nabanggit, no, is that it has a capability to generate yung kaninang ginagawa natin, yung PERT CPM, no. So it has a capability to generate that one, and basically it has a capability to include all of the resources per project. So meaning to say, this process, no, let's say for example, if I'm going to have an activity A, what could be the materials needed for this, okay, and what would be the probable cost and the budget also, no. As you can see in the project kasi, we do have the three components that we need to consider, okay. This is actually from the PM book, no, standpoint, no. It has the triple constraint na tinatawag. We do have a triple constraint. It's composed of the time, importante yon. So meaning to say, that's the reason why this is actually major of the components that we need to tackle about the time itself. As you can see, hindi ganun kabilis mag-schedule, no. And then in terms of you are in the management level. Number 2 is yung tinatawag nating scope, no. Time will be varied on the scope of your coverage, no. Gaano kalaki yung iyong scope of work, okay? And the how big is how vast is your deliverables, no. How frequent that you're going to deliver, no. So this always schedules on time. And the last is your resources, okay. From the PM book, cost kasi nilagay nila, pero for me, no, it is actually the resources. When you say resources, it involves cost, no. It involves manpower, machineries, equipments that you're going to use, no. So those are the things that you need to consider. So kaya siya triple constraints, no. So in other words, no, in some books, no, they always try to make a perfect circle on that, diba? Yeah, to try to make a perfect circle on that division, the time, the cost, and the scope, no. But that would be an ideal part, no. Pero in the practical part, it's never happened. Sometimes, let's say for example, the scope is, the scope is too big, while the time and the cost is too small. Yeah. So sometimes malaki din naman, equal din yung cost and yung time, yung cost and yung time at saka yung scope. But since then the cost is small, So something like that, no? And it always happens in the, in the normal industry, because we're talking about business. As you can see, in the business, we will going to get it for a cheaper price, and then we're going to sell it for a bigger price, no? So those are the things that we are about to consider in this way, no? So basically, no, I hope that you just help you with, in order for you to comprehend these measures, no. And with that, no, thank you very much, and I hope, no, stay safe, and God bless you all, and take care. Okay, maraming salamat po for this, for giving me a chance to present here. Thank you so much, and have a nice day.